Are we there yet? Oh boy. Okay, something's happening. There's a stupid ad. Well, it's not a stupid ad because it helps pay for the feed bill. Okay, boys and girls, here we are, or here I am. It has been, you ever have one of those days? It's kind of seemed like it's always one of those days on the homestead where you live. Um, we had one of those days, and I decided to move some hay out to the animals. We've got them locked in the pine forest, not all pine, but move a hay bale out on the power line to give them a nice bale of hay out there. And make a long story short, on the way back, I noticed Spree, our Oberhasli goat, appeared as if she had perhaps just given birth. She was coming to the sound of my voice. So we were running through the woods trying to find a baby goat. Did not find a baby goat. That made Patty be a whole lot later getting her mom back to Country Brook, the nursing home, where she's in a temporary bed. We call that a swing bed in this part of the country, getting some rehab. And so Patty's probably not going to make it, but our entire plan for today was to just jump on briefly to tell you guys how grateful we are to have you in our lives. You know, that may sound weird because we only really know one or two of you, and but it does mean something to us that you guys take time out of your day. Here you are on Christmas, and you know, taking time out of your day to spend a few minutes with us, and that's humbling, and we really do appreciate it. Green Gables Homestead, thank you. Praise God indeed. I am healing up quite nicely. There are some places on my nose that receive stitches that are already almost invisible. And it's only been 2 weeks ago this past Friday. And so I contribute that to the grace of God and some highly skilled surgeons who were stitching me up from the inside out. Multiple layers of stitches in many places. And my only thing I've had a little bit of pain the last few days, some shooting pain in my nose. It kind of makes me go like, you know, when it hit me, it's almost like somebody touched me with a hot poker. And it's uncomfortable and it hurt really bad, but I'm trying to take that as a good sign that maybe things are waking up. I'm hoping that this part of my lip continues to wake up and function. It's not yet. Watch this. It should be just as high as the left side, but it's not. And I've got one of the therapists that works with Patty's mom is a speech therapist, and she thinks she can help me. If you remember, as I said live for the world last week, I have trouble with F words. I meant to say I have trouble with words that start with F. Certain words that start with S, like Spree, the goat that I was telling you about. I was trying to call her earlier, and I really have to focus and concentrate to say Spree so that it doesn't come out, you know. But in fact, look, see how crooked my mouth is to say Spree. So you know what? If I had my druthers, I would like for my lip to come back and be fully functional. I do bite it quite a bit. Not quite a bit. I've bitten it maybe 6 or 7 times while eating. And the good news is it hurts when I do. So it would certainly be more convenient to not have it hurt so bad. I'm a little on edge in large groups of people. I think it's not like I'm afraid or anything. I went to Walmart a few days ago, and it was just it was a strange feeling. I told Patty it's almost like I'm hyper alert. It's almost like I'm. Of course, it was Walmart. I guess you should be hyper alert in Walmart, but I'm uneasy in groups of people. I know that'll ease off over time. So, you know, thank you, Amber Marie. That's good to know that. Amber Marie says she's a nurse and that is a sign of nerve regeneration. And thank you, Mud Pie Girl. That's good to know, and that's very encouraging. So again, I'm sorry Patty can't be here. I'm only going to be here just a few more minutes because it kind of causes me discomfort to talk too much. I was able to do it on our last couple of shows that seems like that's kind of newer, more recent. That if I talk too much, I don't know. I think maybe because of the regeneration, this is a little bit more sensitive in this area. And I found out when we went back to our doctor's appointment that this line right here in line with my mustache, excuse me, that I've been telling everybody was like a crimp. I always assumed that his tooth just kind of scraped. I'm looking at my camera and everything's working backwards. That his tooth kind of scraped like that. And the doctor was like, no, sir, that was through and through, so it was all the way through into my mouth. And they had to sew up multiple layers. But anyway, so that's all a little bit more sensitive now, and especially when I talk too much. And, probably a lot of people glad I'll have something keeping me from talking too much. But I hope everybody's had a wonderful Christmas. They surprised me. My family surprised me yesterday with a GoPro camera, a GoPro Hero 5, top of the line, and a bag full of attachments to allow me to mount it all different kind of ways. And we actually used it some today, and I got a lot of editing to do to put it up, but I wore it on my cap. I wore it on my head. There's a head thing, a head strap you can use, and I wore it to as we moved that bale of hay, and as I was walking through the woods looking for that baby goat. So I'm curious to see it. That thing shoots 4K. I didn't put it on 4K because I don't have anything to do with 4K, so I just shot it at 1080p, and I'll probably put it up on YouTube at 720p to allow more people to see it. Thank you, Amber Marie. I appreciate your prayers. I've been so thankful for so many people praying for us, and thank you, Teresa. That's good to know. Yeah, I tend to agree that pain means that the healing has begun, and so that's good. I just need to be patient, I think. So I'm trying to scroll back. I got a little bitty window. I can't figure out how to get rid of. Oh, there it is. Now I can see more. But we're going to be leaving here shortly. Oh, I missed Deep South. Hey guys, Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas, Wee Tree. No way I'm going to catch everybody. I'm so sorry. There's just too many people, and I mean, how humbling is this that you guys took time out of your Merry Christmas to you, Jay. Took time out of your busy Christmas to come stop in and say hi to us. I know you're disappointed Patty ain't here. I'm disappointed Patty ain't here, and she'll probably get back just about the time I decide to sign off. But Cameron is running around here somewhere getting packed because we're actually leaving here shortly after we sign off. To head to Louisiana, spend the night at my sister's, spend part of the night at my sister's because we'll have to get up about 3 a.m. Cameron flies out at 5 a.m. in the morning, and luckily out of Baton Rouge. We were thinking New Orleans, so it was like, why even go to sleep? Actually, I was thinking about getting a hotel room in New Orleans, but he's actually flying. He flew into New Orleans, but he's flying out of Baton Rouge, so that's only about 30 minutes from my sister's house. But we're going to have to get there early because he's bringing some of his rifle, a couple of his rifles, and some ammunition and stuff. He's got special boxes. They have to get all that checked, and we want to get down there plenty early to make sure there's no problem with that. So maybe he's going to try to go bag one of those big elk or black-tailed deer or white-tailed deer that he was talking about. We had such a great time when he was on our show. And he wanted me to tell you thank you. He may pop in here, I hope, before I sign off, just a couple more minutes. But he wanted me to thank y'all. He said, golly, Dad, my subscriptions on my YouTube channel skyrocketed after being on your show. I said, hey, man, we're like redneck famous, you know. So I knew you folks would jump over there and show him some love, and you'll enjoy the outdoor videos that he has up. And he plans to do more. And we're actually going to buy him. He doesn't have all. He's got a GoPro, but he doesn't have all the mounting systems that they got for me. And so we're going to buy him that for his birthday, which is in January. His is on the 12th, mine's on the 15th. And so we're going to buy him all that full package of mounting options for his GoPro. So I'm sure, keep an eye on his YouTube channel. You'll probably be seeing some more videos put up there by him in the very near future. Let me check the look at all those Merry Christmases. I love it. Let me check these messages one more time. I don't want to miss anything vitally important. Yeah, I can't tell you what it means to look down here and see all these comments. My goodness. Weetree, I know that. Weetree says, I don't know anyone that has not prayed and kept you in our prayers. I'm going to tell you something. I feel it, you know, because my recovery has been miraculous. I haven't been overcome with invasive thoughts. If Corey's telling me the truth, and I believe that he is, neither has he. Neither has Patty. I had a few days of where I would have these intermittent just floods of terror that they'd be fleeting and they'd go away, but they only lasted a few days. And then about a week ago, I don't remember if I told you about this. It may have been since our last show. I had my worst night. Couldn't go to sleep. It was so weird. I wasn't thinking about the event. I was thinking about, show you how your mind works. I was thinking about the hundreds of times when Duke and I had been in loving situations where we were sitting together, you know, down on his level, or him in the Polaris with me, you know, or sitting on the deck or whatever. Except in all of those events where it was nothing but love and affection, in my thoughts that night he was attacking me, and that was weird. And my heart rate was up. I just couldn't go to sleep, and I prayed and just asked the Lord to clean it out of me. And finally, about 1:30, I dozed off. And see, that was the first night that I had started the night in the bed instead of in my lounge chair. I had been sleeping in a lounge chair so I keep my head elevated per doctor's instructions. But he cleared me to start the night in the bed. And that was the first night I did that. And it was completely dark. And so the next night, you know what I did? I left the bathroom light on. And I ain't ashamed of it. It was a compensatory strategy. I compensated to, and you know what? I did that for a few nights, slept like a baby, and now I go back to sleep as I always did, in the slap dark. I love for it to be very, very dark when I sleep. And you know, you do what you got to do, and you just compensate. And that was a compensatory strategy. I don't know those big words, but a dear friend of mine, Jerry Dotson, knows those words, and he told me that's what that was, and I could pronounce it, so I'm going to say it too. It was a compensatory strategy, and it worked. It compensated. So anyway, we are family Deep South, and I appreciate that. I will, Dolphin Man. I'll be sure to tell Patty Merry Christmas, and thank you, Weetree. That's good. Just for a little clarification, and Weetree, this is not directed at you. I know exactly what you mean. But just so that people understand, and if Big Bear were on here, he could explain this better than me. Or shoot, paratrooper, doggone it, I've drawn a blank. I'm sorry. Hope you didn't see that or hear that. But PTSD is really cumulative. Post-traumatic stress syndrome is cumulative, whereas critical incident stress, CISD, debriefing. Critical incident stress is a result of a single traumatic incident. And so if you think about, you know, veterans sometimes, a perfect example, but even law enforcement officers who suffer a string of critical incidents, it accumulates over time if each of those incidents is not taken care of properly, if they're not processed properly, if they're not assisted through processing. Not everybody needs assistance. Let me tell you a couple things, and I may have repeated this, and I'm really going longer than I thought I was going to go, but this is important. Even if I have repeated it, if I've said it already, it's still important. Two of the most important things, or a couple of most important things I learned as a critical incident stress debriefer is that any reaction to a critical incident, talking about a reaction to a critical incident, any reaction, including no reaction, is a normal reaction. That's important. I want you to write that down. Did you see me biting my lip just then? Ow. I want you to write that down. Any reaction, including no reaction, is a normal reaction. Some people have no reaction. Some people suffer in no way. They just process it differently. Doesn't mean they're stronger. Doesn't mean one who has difficulty after a critical incident is weaker. It doesn't mean that at all. We all process things differently. So any reaction, including no reaction, is a normal reaction. Here's another one that goes right along with it, and that is, you are a normal. This is again something that is said to someone who has survived a critical incident. Whatever reaction you're having, you are a normal person having a normal reaction to an abnormal event. I'm going to say that again because I want you to write it down. You are a normal person having a normal reaction to an abnormal event. Why is that important? I'll tell you why. In critical incident stress training and in debriefing, you're given handouts of things to expect. Changes to your sleep habits, changes to your eating habits, changes to your drinking habits. If you consume alcohol, you may consume more. You need to watch that. Blah, blah, blah. You may stop. It's, anything can happen. Because why? Any reaction, including no reaction, is a normal reaction. But it's important to know that you're a normal person having normal reactions to an abnormal event for this very reason. Remember I told you in the first few days after my incident that I would be throughout the day just suddenly sort of enveloped in terror, fleeting, didn't last but a few seconds, and it went away. Well, guess what? I was able to chuckle at that, literally chuckle at that, and say to myself, there it is. You know why? Because I expected it. Because I knew that things like that might be happening to me. And so when they did, it was no big deal. But imagine that scenario playing out had I not been educated, had I not been told that you can expect these types of possible things to happen to you. I might not have told anybody. I might have sat there and suffered in silence. And what would I have been thinking? I wonder if anybody would be willing to guess on that. I'm going to hold up a minute. If that kind of stuff, if I'd gone through my incident, not knowing what to expect, and then been visited with terror a few times throughout the day and the first few days afterwards, if I didn't know that that might be expected, I want somebody to tell me in the chat, what would I be thinking? I mean, any possibility, but I'm going to wait a minute. I've gone way longer than I thought I was going to go. But I've got to let it catch up for somebody to guess. What would I be thinking if those kind of things hit me, or if I had that night that I had the other night where I'm seeing Duke attack me in all these hundreds of times when we were playful together and loving together. If I hadn't known to expect that, what might it cause me to do or think about myself? I'll give you a hint. What would that cause me? What might that cause me to think about myself? Let's see. In the meantime, Susan Sullivan went to IHOP. Go IHOP. That's awesome. This is see, I hate this asking questions things because y'all are so far behind. That's good. Norma says, I might have thought that I wasn't handling this situation well. Yeah, that's a very valid answer, Norma. It's not exactly what I was getting at, but it's close. Yeah, I could have become a mentally traumatized person. There you go, Ann. That I was losing my mind. More specifically, the exact thought I had in mind, and it's a trick question because the chances of somebody coming up with exactly this, because y'all are all nailing it around the edges of the thought I had, is the thought that I would have had is, what's wrong with me? Right? What's wrong with me? If I'm not strong enough, why am I so weak? And it's none of that stuff. Why? Because those were normal reactions that a normal person was having to an abnormal event. I hope y'all have written that down. I'm going to say them again for you. Come back and watch it. If you don't get it, I'll try to remember to put them in the comments. I'm probably going to forget because when we shut down, we're probably leaving. But I'm going to say both of those again, okay? Any reaction, including no reaction, is a normal reaction. Any reaction, including no reaction, is a normal reaction. And here's the next one. You are a normal person having a normal reaction to an abnormal event. I'll tell you my, I'll tell you what, yeah, that's it, Amber Marie, that you would think that you were weak or at fault for those things coming in. You guys are all nailing that. I'll tell you my favorite example. It's a little crass, but I'll tell you my favorite example is in reference to SWAT teams often are trained to, oh good, just in time to come tell everybody Merry Christmas and goodbye. But first I'm telling a story about poop.
About what? Merry
Poop.
Christmas and goodbye.
Carly answered Merry Christmas goodbye. Yeah, I'm telling a poop story.
That's not very nice.
Yes, it is. It's educational.
I haven't been here to watch
Yeah,
you.
she hadn't been
hey,
here.
everybody.
She hadn't been here to rein me in. Kissing has been interesting.
Very careful.
We have to aim just right, you know. But now here's the quick poop story to make that point come home. Is that SWAT teams are trained prior to going out to serve a high-risk warrant or something like that to go to the bathroom, to defecate, to clear their bowels before they go out, because it's well known and documented that one possible stress reaction to a high-stress event is to lose control of your bowels. So think about this. Let's say you've got SWAT officer A who has been trained in this. He knows that, but he forgets to go to the restroom. And you've got SWAT officer B who is new on the job and he missed that day of training or something. He doesn't know that, and he also did not go to the bathroom. And they get out in this high stress dangerous situation, and sure enough, each of them loses control of their bowels. I think it's self-evident because of what we've talked about, the radically different responses that those two officers would have within themselves. The SWAT officer who was trained that might happen and knew he should have gone to the restroom but didn't. I actually know this actually happened to a friend of mine, and I said, how'd you react? And he said, I laughed at how stupid I was for forgetting. You know, I said, I knew that was going to happen. But imagine how, I don't know anybody in the other category, but imagine what thoughts would go through the mind of the SWAT officer who had not had that training. And he gets out there and the poop hits the fan, so to speak, and he loses control of his bowels and defecates on himself. You know, y'all know the answer to that. We've already talked about it briefly, but that could have a devastating effect on that guy. So what's the point? Knowledge is power, and so my knowing that those little fits of terror that I had in the days following my incident were to be expected. My knowing that I may have difficulty sleeping a couple of nights, I was able to say, well, look at there, right on cue, you know.
Yeah, and what's interesting, you know, because Tommy had that training, I knew bits and pieces about it because he's went and done the debriefing and stuff like that, and when he went to the school and everything, we talked about it and all. I didn't know, I don't have the knowledge he has, but you know, a good friend of his sent us current information and everything, what to expect and everything. I was very fearful at first, driving and, you know, just real fearful. I mean, not scared that something was going to happen because I walked outside, but just like, I've never liked passing 18-wheelers, but it was a lot tougher right afterwards, driving at dark.
I told them how I felt when I went to Walmart the other night,
Yeah.
that I was real nervous, and it wasn't
Yeah.
wasn't really fear. It was almost like, later it occurred to me that it was like a hypervigilance, that I was just hyper aware.
Well, it had been almost 2 weeks since you had been out in public. too.
Yeah.
That
So it
makes
was
a
like
difference.
sensory overload, at one point in time. But you know
Yeah.
what? It didn't bother me. It puzzled me, but not in a scientific way, because I was like analyzing.
Yeah, he
what-
was okay. I talked to him on the phone. He was okay, but he was feeling
in fact, I
odd.
said something like, "That's weird, isn't it?" But because I know that these things can happen. But anyway, God is good, and my recovery has been miraculous. And if my lip will wake up, everything will be fine. If it don't, everything will be fine. I'll learn to live with it, and we'll get quicker at kissing without having to aim our heads just right and draw a map, from my lips to her lips
It's like
and
we're
all that.
teenagers
So
again.
yeah.
Carl
So
said like we're teenagers again, trying to figure it out.
wait a minute. You talking about George Michael, the singer? Susan Sullivan said George Michael passed away 30 minutes ago. Wow. Well, what a tragedy. What a tragic life. But so you about ready?
Yep, I
'Cause we gotta-
gotta clean my van out. You don't know that yet.
Oh yeah. So you mean we got to clean your van out?
Yeah, I still got my molasses back there.
Oh, well, I got a show to do.
Ah.
Listen, again, you just don't know what it means that you guys take time out of your
It's meant a
Sunday
whole lot.
evenings. It really has.
Been a whole
And
lot.
the
And-
support that we felt through this thing. Eventually, we're going to quit talking about it on our show and find something else to talk about. But I planned on being on about 15 minutes. And
I knew you'd still be on.
one thing led to another. Just put one foot in front of. Anyway, so let me just close with this. It's Christmas Day, y'all, and we know that this is not the day. December 25th is probably not the day that Christ was born, and I don't think that's the point. But it is the point that we stop and ponder. And I hope you do this. I hope you do it more than just around Christmas. Stop and ponder the magnitude of that. Stop and ponder that the same God who is big enough to speak the entire universe into existence with a word, let there be. That the same God who measures the heavens with the width of his hand, the psalmist says. The same God who holds the judgment of the world in his hand. That same God, whose power we can scarcely begin to imagine. But that same God saw fit to condescend, leave his throne of glory, which he didn't have to do, come to earth, live, be born in the humblest of situations, not in a stately situation, but in a lowly, humble manner, to live a perfectly obedient life so that he might become a perfect sacrifice. Folks, that's astounding. That's the most astounding thing that has ever happened. And he did it because he's mercy. He did it because there was no other way. There was no other way for him, he's a just and holy and righteous God. And so there's no way that he could honor his righteousness and his justice and let us off the hook. So he didn't let us off the hook. He climbed on the hook in our place. And he took the righteous punishment that sinners like me deserve. But that's only half of that great exchange. He took the punishment that I richly deserve. And in return, he gave me his righteousness that I in no way deserve. Because he was able to do something that I could never do in a million lifetimes. And that was obey the law of God perfectly every jot and every tittle. And then he was able to, I'll never understand this, but to place that obedience into my account at the cross of Calvary. My goodness. I mean,
I'm sorry, TC Meow is
yeah, TC
loving
Meow's
you.
up here. She didn't like the preaching, I guess, but she's not I guess she's not a Baptist cat. But, I just really want you to ponder that. We celebrate Christmas like Americans do, to some degree. I'm not going to get on a soapbox about that. If you've got a soapbox about that, feel free to get on it. Just not here. And but it is important that we recognize the stupendous. I mean, I just can't come. I've got a fairly sizable. I got a respectable vocabulary, but I can't find the words to faithfully and fully and satisfactorily describe the grace and mercy.
It's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. You know what it should be. So here's our Christmas wish for you, that you would be overwhelmed by God's grace. That if you've never seen your need for a Savior, then I would pray that you would look long at the cross and think, what on earth required that? And I pray that the Holy Spirit of God would put His finger in your heart and find those places of darkness that put Christ on the cross. And that's a dark moment when that happens, but you know what? Light comes after the darkness.
That's right.
Darkness endures for a night, but totally just forgot that Bible verse. What kind of Christian am I?
Joy, light comes in the morning.
No, yeah, but joy comes.
in the
Yeah,
morning.
yeah. Darkness may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. That's right. So I think there was some song. I don't know all of it, but hey, and I know this is Christmas and not Easter, but when you have your Good Friday experience of God showing you your need for a Savior, take heart. Be of good cheer, because it may be Friday, but Sunday's coming. And the Lord is alive, and He's risen, and He's kind, and He's merciful, and He's still in the business of saving sinners from their sin and saving them from the wrath, from His own wrath. Gosh, I could talk about this forever, but I've already gone 30 minutes longer than I planned to. So that's our Christmas wish for you, that you'd be overwhelmed by the grace and mercy and goodness of God, and that you would turn to Him and call out to Him, because He'll answer you. And I pray that He pursues you until you do. Y'all have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. Have a wonderful Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
TC Meow.